I just looked over the video and realized that the mic was not plugged into the phone the whole time. It pisses me off, bro. It pisses me the fuck off when I do shit like that. It's gonna be lo-fi, bro, so hopefully it doesn't fucking bother y'all. Just get into it, bro. I just wanted to make this just to let you know that the mic will be sitting there, but it is not on. It's connected to my freaking PC. Ain't no self-serve, bro. Hold on 1 second. What's going on, Dwayne? What's good in the ASMR hood? How you doing? How you living? Oh, yes, growing, Dwayne. And today, we are back with sex, drugs, and CoCoA puffs. Sex, drugs, and CoCoA puffs. See what I'm saying? Sex, drugs, and CoCoA puffs. We're back. And let me get our bookmarker out of here. We left, we were on chapter 3. Today, we're going to be reading chapter 4 and 5. Because, you know something, I want to let y'all know, because this is the first video, the first start of the phase of the third gear. And, you know, considering the third gear for me, the third gear, I'm considering that as every video from now on will be an hour. Every video, every day will be an hour long. Because I realize, you know, pay attention to the things y'all say, and the things y'all talk about, and the things, you know, y'all be surprised about, and will be really shocking. Y'all be like, damn, y'all be like, oh yeah, this, y'all be like, oh yeah, I'm so grateful for this one. It'll be like a 30-minute long video, and y'all be like, damn, 20 posted an hour long. And it's like y'all be seeing, like, you know, I be posting short videos, not saying y'all coming at me, but you know, it just really made me think, like, what if I posted every video that long, you know, that it'd just be the norm, you know, we're just gonna make that the norm. Every video is gonna be an hour long, every 9 o'clock. That's why I said I'm not gonna post it today's Saturday, because I'm gonna use it as a day to, like, catch up, you know, get my work done, and, you know, so I don't have to stress too much about, like, getting other things done, you know, focusing on my other channels on, you know, just a little bit of an explanation of what's going on and what's about to go down, because, you know, I always wondered, like, why y'all was so surprised and so, like, you know, ecstatic and so, like, shocked about, like, you know, a 1-hour video or like a 40-minute video, and I'd be like, oh damn, Twin, you blessed us with this one. Shit, I'm gonna bless you every day, Twin. I'm gonna bless you every single day. Just trust me, trust the process, and let's keep working. Hopefully that doesn't keep going off as we're recording. I literally waited like a good 20-30 minutes before recording because it just kept going off and off and off and off and off and off and on. But, you know, hopefully it comes down. I got my last on today. Chapter 3. What? Maybe I should. Oh, that should I do it. Chapter 3. What happens when people stop being polite? Even before Eric Nyes came into my life, I was having a pretty good 1992. I wasn't doing anything of consequence that summer, but at least retrospectively, nothingness always seems to facilitate the best periods of my life. Damn, nothingness always seems to facilitate the best periods of my life. That's a deep saying right there. I suppose I was ostensibly going to summer school, sort of. I had signed up for 3 summer classes at Imam. What the fuck? I just skipped so much. Oh my god. I'm sorry. Let's reset, get ourselves together, and let's just breathe. I had signed up for 3 summer classes at the University of North Dakota in order to qualify for the maximum amount of financial aid. But then I dropped 2 of the classes that same day. I got my check. I suppose I was also employed, sort of. I had a work-study job in the campus. Geography, library. It's not library, library. Which was really just a room with a high ceiling, filled with maps no one ever used. For some reason, it was my job to count these maps for 3 hours a day. I was, however, allowed to listen to classical rock radio. But most importantly, I was living in an apartment with a guy who spent all night locked in his bedroom writing a novel. He was unironically titled Bits of Reality, which I think was a modern retelling of Oedipus Rex. I'm gonna guess what that is. I'm just gonna say Oedipus Rex. He slept during the afternoon and mostly subsided on raw. What? Twin is living off of raw glizzies. Insane work. I think his girlfriend paid the rent for both of them. No, that's crazy. See, as a man, I just feel like that would make me feel old, bro. His girlfriend paid the rent for both of us. Now this dude ate the hot dogs argued about the merits of dog racing, dog fighting, cockfighting, affirmative action, legalized prostitution, and the properties of ice, chaos theory, and whether or not water had a discernible flavor. Discernible, I think that's what it said. Discernible. I'm learning. Had a discernible flavor. We argued about how difficult it would be to ride a bear, assuming said bear was muzzled. We argued about partial birth abortion, and we argued about the possibility of Trent Reznor committing suicide and or being gay. We once got into a vicious argument over whether or not I had actually read all of aggrandizing Guns N' Roses biography within the scope of a single day, an achievement my hot dog gorge roommate claimed was impossible. That particular debate extended for all of July. Mostly, we argued about which of us was better at arguing, and particularly about who had won the previous argument. Perhaps this is why we were both enraptured by the summer's debut of MTV's The Real World, an artistic product that mostly seemed like a TV show about people arguing, and these people were terrible arguers. The 7 cast members thrown into that New York loft always made ill-conceived points and got unjustifiably emotional, and they all seemed to take everything much too personally. But the raw hot dog eater, why does he keep calling him Master? The raw hot dog eater, and I watched. Bro, imagine being called a fucking raw hot dog eater. That is diabolical. I watched these people argue all summer long, and then we watched them argue again in the summer of 1993, and then again in the summer of 1994. Bro, this book is looking kind of fun. Imagine being a fucking raw hot dog eater. Technically, these people were completely different every year, but they were also exactly the same, and pretty soon it became clear that the producers of The Real World weren't sampling the youth of America. They were unintentionally creating it. By now, everyone I know is one of the 7 defined strangers, inevitably hoping to represent a predefined demographic and always failing horribly. The real world is 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 the real world. It's the same true story, even when it isn't. I tend to consider myself an amateur real world scholar. I say amateur because I've done no actual university studying on this subject, but I still say scholar because I've stopped watching the show as entertainment. At this point, I've only watched in hopes of unlocking the questions that have haunted man since the dawn of civilization. I've seen every episode of every season, and I've seen them all a minimum of 3 times. This, of course, is the key to appreciating The Real World and the rest of MTV's programming: repetition. To really get it, you have to watch MTV so much that you know things you never tried to remember. You can't try to deduce the day-to-day habits of John Brennan. He was the cowboy dude from RW2. Los Angeles, that would be ridiculous. You can't consciously try to figure out what he likes and what he hates and how he lives. These are things you have to know without trying. You just have to know he constantly drinks cherry Kool-Aid, but you can't try to learn that because that would make you a weirdo. Deadass. This kind of knowledge is like a vivid dream you suddenly pull out of the cosmic ether 8 hours after waking up, and someone asked when Montana from RW6 Boston exposed her breast. You just sort of vaguely recall it was on a boat, and someone asked you about an effeminate. I've never seen this word before, but I'm learning. Effeminate black guy from Seattle slap in the face. You inexplicably know it was the chick from Lyme disease. Yet these are not bits of information you actively acquired. These are things picked up the same way you sussed out how to get around the subway, or the way you figured out how to properly mix Bloody Marys. One day you just suddenly realize it's something you know, and somehow there's a cold logic to it. It's an extension of your own life. Now, we're talking about horror, an extension of your own life. Well, he didn't say life force, but now, talking about horror, talking about mana, we're talking about, ratio, talking about, spiritual power, we're talking about spiritual pressure, we're talking about all that right now. I'm locked in. Extension of your own life, even though you never tried to make it that way. In 1992, The Real World was supposed to be that kind of calculated accident. It was theoretically created as a seamless extension of reality, but somewhere the relationship became reversed. first RW summer, I saw kids on MTV who reminded me of people I knew in real life. By 1997, the opposite was starting to happen. I kept meeting new people who were like old real-world characters. I've met at least 6 books in the past 5 years. This doesn't mean they necessarily talk about snot or eat peanut butter with their hands. What it means is they played the puck role. In any given situation, they will provide the puck perspective, and they will force those around them to comfort the puck. I think that's party. I don't know, goddamn, I'm learning. If nothing else, the real world has provided avenues for worldviews that are both specialized and universal, and it has particularly validated worldviews that are patently unreasonable. Part of me is hesitant to write about cast members from the real world in any specific sense. Oh, the real world is like an actual book or show type shit. Oh, I thought you were just talking about like the real world, because I realize few Americans have studied or even seen all 12 seasons of the show. You hear a lot of people say things like they watch most of the first 2 seasons, or that they watch every season up until Miami, or that they never started watching until the San Francisco season, or that they've only seen bits and pieces of the last three years and tend to get the cast mixed up. For most normal TV watchers, the real world is an obsession that fades at roughly the same rate as denim. I've noticed that much of the program's original 1992 audience gets especially bored whenever a modern cast starts to talk like teenage aliens. Last year, an old friend told me she's grown to hate the real world because MTV used to pick people for that show who I could relate to. Now, they just have these stupid little kids who act like selfish twins. This was said by a woman, and now a responsible 29-year-old saw it. Specialist who once threw a drink into the face of her college roommate for reasons that could never be explained. It's hard for most people to hang with a show that deeply bathes in a fountain of youth. However, another part, I hope y'all cannot hear my niece downstairs screaming. I don't know what the fuck she's doing, but she just keeps screaming. However, another part of me realizes there's no risk whatsoever, and pointed out specific RW cast members, even to people who've never seen the show once. You don't need to know the people I'm talking about, because you know the people I'm talking about, and I don't mean you know them in the ham-fisted way MTV cast them. The angry black militant, or the gay one, or the naive virginal southerner who's vaguely foxy. When I say you know these people, it's because the personalities on the real world have become the only available personalities for everyone who's A, alive, and B, under the age of 29. Our cultural preparation for a real world universe actually started in the movie theaters during the 80s, particularly with 2 films that both came out in 1985, The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. These seminal portraits were what the real world was supposed to be like, assuming MTV could find non-fictional people who would have interesting conversations on a semi-regular basis. Like most RW casts, The Breakfast Club broke teen culture into 5 segments. 5 segments that were laughably stereotypical. And just in case you somehow missed that they were Anthony Michael Hall, explains it all in the closing scene. St. Elmo's Fire used many of the same actors, but it evolved their personalities by 5 years and made them more, I don't know why, it's in parentheses, but I'm just going, philosophically complex. Here is where we see the true genesis of future real worldians with Jude Nelson. Blood, I'm gonna take my name. With Jude Nelson, we have the respected social climber, doomed to fail ethically show succeeds because it edits malleable personalities into flat 20-something archetypes. What interests me is the way those archetypes so quickly became the normal way for people of my generation to have. It's become popular for real world I don't know what the fuck this is. It make me feel like I'm stupid, but you gotta learn. Revisionist. Let me see if you can see this goddamn word. Look at this motherfucker. I am reading. Wait, let me put my finger on it. Damn, I missed it. Wait. You in a rush, so you go look at this motherfucking word. Where the fuck was I? It talks normalized cinematic experience. Oh, words of revenants. I'm reading this word right here. Revenants. If you can see that, tell me what that shit says. Yeah, to claim that the first season was the only true transcendent RW. The argument began being that this was the singular year its cast members actually acted real in a broad sense that's accurate, since the first real world was entirely new. No one knew what it was going to look like or how it would be received. Nobody in the original New York loft was able to formulate an agenda on purpose. Logically, this. Okay, so I will be right back because she just keeps screaming and yelling, so I'm about to give her a piece of my mind. I'm back, boy. I love that pause feature on Soul. I just had to go put some cash on the body head. Hopefully she don't scream no more. You know, after that firm, I'm recording. Can you please stop yelling? Should make it for great television. In practice, it doesn't translate in truth. Let me make sure I'm recording. Oh, boys, you know, sometimes I'll be accidentally pressing the wrong one. In practice, it doesn't translate in truth. RW1 is mostly dull. Well, let's say real world one because I keep saying RW and Loki makes me think of, wait, Red Dead is RDW. Is it RDW? Okay, never mind. RW1 is mostly dull. It wasn't fascinating in 1992 because of the novelty, but it doesn't stand up over time. I'll concede that the cast on the first real world were the only ones who didn't consistently play to the camera. Only honky model Eric Nines did so on an episode-to-episode basis, but one gets the impression this was just his normal behavior. While the actual filming was taking place, I have no doubt the 7 loft dwellers were clueless about what the final product would look like on television. That certainly fostered the possibility for spontaneous reality, and there are glimpses of that throughout RW1. The problem is that hard reality tends to be static. On paper, the conversations from that version real world would make it for terrible script. In fact, the greatest moments from the real world are when nothing is going on at all. The awkwardness becomes transfixing, not unlike the sensation of sitting in an airport and watching someone read a newspaper. Yet, if every cast of the real world has been as real as that first New York ensemble, the show would have only lasted 2 seasons. Ironically, the reason RW flourished is because its telegenic humanoids became less complex with every passing season. Multifaceted people do not translate within the real world format. Future cast members figured this out when that initial season finally aired, and it was immediately obvious that the only 2-person allities mattered. Alabama, Bill, Julie, and angry African American Kevin. The only truly compelling episode from the first season came in week 11 when Julie and Kevin had an outdoor screaming match over a seemingly random race issue. But the first fight itself wasn't the key. What was important was the way it galvanized 2 archetypes that would become cornerstones for the late 20th century youth. The educated automation and the likable anti-intellectual. Those 2 personalities, sex, are suddenly everywhere, and they both children of the real world. Obviously, Kevin embodies the former attitude. Julie embodies the latter, and almost kind of persona desirable because other one-dimensional personalities can more easily understand you. If you believe real-world producers Mary Ellis, Boone, and John Murray, they don't look for troublemakers when they make casting decisions. They insist they simply cast for diversity, but this is only true in macro sense. They want obvious diversity. They want physical diversity or sexual diversity or economic diversity. What they have no use for is intellectual diversity. A Renaissance man or woman need not apply to this program. You need to be able to deduce who a given real world represents socially before the second commercial break of the very first episode, which gives you about 18 minutes of personality. It was very easy to make RW1 Kevin appeared one-dimensional, even if that portrayal wasn't accurate. He gave them enough race card material to ignore everything else. Thus, Kevin became the inadvertent model for thousands and thousands of future real-world applicants. These are the people who look at themselves in the mirror and thought, I could get on that show. I could be that guy. I could be the guy. The blank became almost anything. Sorry. Shut up. Race, gender, geographic origin, sexual appetite, etc. There was suddenly an unspoken understanding that everyone. Why the fuck does somebody keep passing the door, bro? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Let's continue. That every person in the real world house was supposed to fit some kind of highly specific but completely one-dimensional persona. And this, in his memoir, a heartbreaking work of staggering genius, Dave Eggers writes about how he tried to get on Real World 3 San Francisco, but was beaten out by Jude. I just beat the man out, I'm just him. Coincidentally, both of those guys were cartoonists, but the larger issue is that they were both liberal and sensitive, and they were both likely to be the kind of guy who would fall in love with a female housemate who only perceived him as a good friend. This is exactly the person Jude became. There is now a famous scene. Why they talking about me so much though? Like, I know I be popping and shit, but damn. From that third season, where Jude is rowing a boat, and Longley stares at her roommate Pam and her boyfriend Christopher as they paddle alongside in a similar watercraft. Months after the conclusion of RW3, Pam broke up with Chris and fell in love with Jude. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I think. Which is a kind of bizarre, but mostly be exactly the MTV dreams of having happened during any given season. Whenever I see repeat episodes of RW1, I find myself deconstructing every casual conversation Jude and Pam have because I know a secret they don't. 18 months later, they will have sex. What? It's sort of like seeing old Judas Priest videos on VH1 Classic and looking for signs of Rob Halford's homosexuality. The Jude Pam undercut is part of the season I consider Real World 3 San Francisco the best ever RW. But that's not the only reason. Central to my affinity for RW3 is a wholly personal issue. The summer is premiered. I was about to say predetermined. The summer it premiered was the summer following my college graduation. I had just moved to a town where I knew almost no one. My cable was installed afternoon of Real World season premiere. The first new friends I made were Corey and Pedro, and I rode with them on a train to California. And boy, you better shut the hell up, boy. And I pretty much hated both of them, or at least Corey immediately. Damn. In truth, let me hold this motherfucker down here. In truth, there wasn't any member of RW3 I particularly liked, and I couldn't relate to any of them except maybe Rachel, and only because she was a bad Catholic. But I became emotionally attached to these people in a very authentic way, and I think it was because I started noticing that the cast members on RW3 were not like people from my past. Instead, they seemed like new people I was meeting in the present. Because the Real World has now been going on for a decade, and because of Survivor and Big Brother, The Mole and Temptation Island, and The Osbournes, the idea of reality TV is now something everyone understands without even trying. American TV watchers have developed an amazingly sophisticated view of postmodernism, even if they would never use the word postmodern in any conversation, or even be able to define it. However, this was still a new idea in 1994, and what's important about RW3 is that it was the first time MTV quit trying to pretend it wasn't on television. Here's what I mean by that. I once read a movie review by Roger Ebert for the film Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Early in the review, Ebert makes a tangential point about whether or not film characters are theoretically aware of other films and other movie characters. Ebert only touches on the issue casually, but it's probably the most interesting philosophical question ever asked about film grammar. Could Harrison Ford's character in What Lies Beneath Raiders of the Lost Ark, could John Rambo draw personal inspiration from Rocky in desperately seeking Susan? What is Madonna hearing when she goes to a club and dances to her own song? Damn, never thought of it that way. What is, like let's say Lil Baby goes to the club, hear a song playing, like what is Lil Baby hearing? Because I feel like, everybody hears things differently, like how somebody might not fuck with a certain kind of music, somebody wouldn't fuck with ASMR, it's just different ways of hearing things. Damn, he is really low key cooking though. Within the reality of one specific fiction, how do others' fictions exist? The real world deals with an identical problem, but in a completely opposite way. Though they have a non-fiction situation that is supposed to have no relation to other non-fictions. They have to behave as if what they were doing hasn't been done before. Real worlders always get into arguments, but you never hear them say, "Oh, you're only seeing that because this is going to be on TV," even though that would be the best comeback 90% of the time. No one would ever compare a housemate to a cast member from a different season, even when such comparisons seem obvious. The kids talk directly into the camera every single day, but they are ceaselessly instructed to pretend as if they are not being videotaped whenever they're outside the confessional. Most of all, they never openly recognize that they're part of a cultural phenomenon. They never mention how weird it is that people are watching them exist. Every real world cast exists in a vacuum. That illusion started to crack in RW3. That's also when the show's mentality started to leak into the social bloodstream. The reason this occurred in San Francisco is because two of the housemates, Buck and Pedro, never allowed themselves to slip into the real world's fabricated portion of reality. They were always keenly cognizant of how they could use this program to forward their goals. Depending on your attitude, Pedro's agenda was either altruistic, personal, in parentheses, personalizing the HIV epidemic, self-aggrandizing, self-aggrandizing. He was dodgily focused on achieving martyrdom status, or a little of both, which is probably closest to the mark. Meanwhile, Buck's agenda was entirely negative. Any way you slice it, he wanted to become the show's first breakout star, a real-world Fonzie, if you will, and he succeeded at the goal, but actively trying to wreck the entire project. In that show about living together, he tried to be impossible to live with. But in at least one way, Pedro and Buck were identical. Both of these guys immediately saw that they could design their own TV show by developing a script within their head. They fashioned themselves as caricatures. Ironically, they both attacked each other for doing this. By the 9th episode, Buck was breaking the fourth wall by suggesting that Pedro was trying to force his message down the throats of viewers. No one had ever implied something like this before. real world producers relaxed the reins and gave up on the notion that this show was somehow organic. A decision was made to let Buck and Pedro fight over the future identity of the real world. Buck represented the idea of a show where everyone was openly fake and we all knew it was a sham. Pedro represented the aesthetic of a show where that we saw was mostly fake, but we would agree to watch it as if it was totally real. It was almost a social contract to fill Pedro's pain as, they got that light shit. As Bill Clinton supposedly did. You have to suspend your disbelief, a paradoxical requirement for a reality program. She did not go on. I was gonna say, how many more pages we got to the season? To the next chapter. Man, just do this one, goddamn it. And Buck's asinine subversion turned everyone against him too. Much ferocity. He was jettisoned. I guess that's what that fucking says. From the house in episode 11, appearing only sporadically for the remainder of the season. Pedro remained in the residence and became MTV's shining moment of the 1990s. He proved himself as an educational hero with a mind-blowing flair for the dramatic. The fact that he died the day after the final episode aired is almost as eerie as Charles Schulz dying the day before the final Peanuts strip ran in newspapers. Though the second half of the RW3 season after Buck's departure is considerably less entertaining than his first half, it's probably good Buck was booted. He would have destroyed the show. In fact, whenever a member of Real Broadcast has tried to subvert the premise of the program, Buck Seattle's Irene Hawaii. What? Buck Seattle's Irene. Hawaii's Justin. They've never made it through an entire season. If they did, it would have turned something keen, something charmingly silly into a complete farce. But as long as that unspoken agreement remains between the show and the audience, they pretend to be normal. We pretend to believe them. The real world works as both bubblegum sociology and a sculptor of human behavior, which brings me back to what I was saying about how almost everyone I meet has suddenly turned into a real world cast member. It all became clear in 1994 during RW3. I had just graduated from college the previous spring and was residing in Fargo, a town I was logistically familiar with, despite knowing virtually no one who lived there. However, Fargo is only an hour's drive from Grand Forks, North Dakota, the college town where I attended school. So I drove back to Rock every other weekend. I'd cut out the work early and arrive in GF around 4:30 p.m. I'd spring for a case of Bush Pounders. I was now making $18,500 a year, and it was therefore unspeakably rich. That's right. And I'd sit around with a revolving door of acquaintances in someone's shithole apartment. Twins say he read. Twins say he therefore unspeakably rich. You gotta believe for it to come true. Goddamn it, he believed that shit. I can tell by the way he said it, unspeakably rich. Load up on Bush. Damn, you know, like this. Scratch my eyebrow. Load up on Bush until it was time to go to a local uncool sports bar, Jonesy's, at 8, which was where you went before hitting the hipster bar, Wheaties, at around 10:20. Not unlike the summer of 1992, there was no real activity. We just sit around and listen to the dying days of grunge, fondly reminiscing about things that had happened in the very recent past. But sometimes I noticed something weird, especially if strangers stumbled into our posse. Everyone was adopting a singularity to their self-awareness. When I had first arrived at college in 1990, one of the things I loved was the discovery of people who seemed impossible to categorize. I'd meet a guy watching a Vikings-Packers game in the TV room, only to later discover that he was obsessed with Fugazi. On only to eventually learn that he was a gay, born-again Christian. There was a certain college cashier to talk to being a walking contradiction. But somehow, the real world leaked out. Get out of here. The real world leaked out those TV sets when Puck shattered the glass barrier between his life and ours. People started becoming personality templates devoid of complication and obsessed with melodrama. I distinctly recall drinking with two girls in a Grand Forks tavern while they discussed their plan to confront a third roommate about her abrasive behavior. I said behavior. How did that become a normal way to talk? Who makes plans to confront a roommate? To me, it was obvious where this stuff came from. It came from real world people, occupied by 7 undeveloped countries, trying to force the others to recognize their right to exist. During the first summer of Real World, everyone kept telling me I should try to get on Real World too. They gave the same advice to my hot dog eating roommate. He's back. I suspect this was meant to be a compliment to both of us. When people tell you that you should be on a reality program, they're basically saying you're crazy enough to amuse total strangers. I was always flattered by this suggestion, and I used to fantasize about being cast on the Real World, imagining that it would make me famous. What I failed to realize is that being a former member of the Real World is the worst kind of fame. There is no financial upside. It offers no artistic credibility or mainstream adoration or easy sex. Basically, the only reward is that people will A, point at you in public, and B, ask you about absolutely nothing else until the day you die. When your participation in a cable television program becomes the lead item in your obituary, you will be the kind of person who suddenly gets recognized at places like Burger King, but you will still be the kind of person who eats at places like Burger King. Slow the fuck down. Slow, bro. He is cooking. Like, I like to have little pauses. It's kind of like I'm reacting to the book because shit, this is my first time reading. But like, let's reread that over again. There's no financial upside. It offers no credibility or mainstream adoration or easy sex. Basically, the only reward is that people will A, point at you in public, and B, ask you about absolutely nothing else until the day you die. When your participation in a cable television program becomes the lead item in your obituary, you will be the kind of person who suddenly gets recognized at places like Burger King, but you will still be the kind of person who eats at places like Burger King. So it ain't about being recognized. That's not what that saying is about. It's about, you had that fame, but it doesn't always run with you. It doesn't always keep that longevity. Like, it's really like a short term. It's like a short term, little life you lived, and it doesn't stick with you. And that's really deep right there. Like, getting recognized at places like Burger King, but it's only because you're still the kind of person who eats at Burger King. Basically saying like people eat at Burger King, low motherfuckers. Because who the fuck is still eating at Burger King? Which one of y'all motherfuckers still keep Burger King open? I hope it's not one of my views. I hope it's not one of y'all motherfuckers. It better not be one of y'all motherfuckers that's keeping Burger King open. That's one thing I know. Goddamn sure. That's one thing I know. But some real shit. That was real deep right there. That was real deep right there. So like Shawty B, he be cooking like last time. He used a video game to really talk it out. But this goddamn chapter using a whole TV show, like a reality TV show. And this dude is really he's really smart as fuck. Like, he's really thinking in a totally different way. Like this, things like this really get me fucking going, bro. Like, they really get me going. Cause like, what if I can incorporate different ways of thinking into the things that I do, the way that I act, the way that I live, and shit, you never know where it can take you, bro. And that's why I need to start reading more. That's why I'm doing a lot more reading videos, because shit, I be learning during it. God damn it, getting smarter like a motherfucker. Once you've been on TV, let's get back. Once you've been on TV, nothing else matters. If Flora from Miami wrote the 21st century version of Anna Karenina, she'd still be known as the loudmouth bitch who fell through the bathroom window. Almost a dozen ex-real worlders have pursued careers in music, all with a jump start from succeeded, their combined album sales would be dwarfed by Arrested Development's live album. Eric Nys and Buck managed to stay in the spotlight. What the fuego? Goddamn, why did she try to take me out? To stay in the spotlight for a few extra milliseconds. But they both went bankrupt. Damn, they both went bankrupt. See, that's what I was talking about. The longevity isn't always there with things like this. They both went bankrupt. It appears that the highest residual success one can achieve from real world stint is that of being asked to compete in a real world / road rules challenge. All these people every dog must have his every day, every drunk must have his drink. Well, I was just reading the title. I wasn't saying let's get into it or whatever. I said, start reading it. I just wanted to let you know what the title was. But I was brushing. Instead of like going beyond the past, because if I start reading it, we're gonna be at like an hour 40, an hour 30. I can already calculate that. And that's the thing. I try not to waste too much time because imagine I could put that 40 minutes into. I might, go space over. Yes. E X D R. I forgot. I am low-key drawing on this shit. Low-key. So, what the fuck? Did I just do that? Did I just made the freaking. I thought I just fucked the thing up. I just realized this. I just realized the picture on the front of this book is. Damn, the light is pills in a cereal bowl. See the spoon, the pills, the milk, and the bowl around it. You know, it's kind of crazy. I didn't even really notice that at the beginning. What is this on my book? What is this? What is this? Why is my book looking dirty? Why is my book looking dirty? What the fuck? S X D R U G S A N D C O C O A B U F F S S E X D R U G S A N D C O C. I swear to God. A P U F S C H U C K K L O S D E R M A N. Can you erase that off? I don't know what the fuck keeps coming here at the ring camera, just walking by it or just coming in the door. I don't know what the fuck keeps going in, but like it wasn't going off that much earlier when I first woke up. Like don't take as soon as I started recording. That's why I started popping up and popping out the shower. So I don't know what they doing. I don't know what they doing. I'm erasing, but I just drew on this. Because I'm not trying to be making a mess. But it seems like that we just hit our marker. You know what our marker is? 60 minutes / 1 hour. I'm gonna see you, twin. I love you. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. So be there and, you know, drop a comment. Let me know how you feeling. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you're thinking about seeing. Let me know, some ideas. Just let me know. Just tell me how your day going. Shit, it don't matter. Just be like, what's up? Just be like, yo, twin. You know what I mean? Matter, man. I love you. And I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. This is the start. This is the beginning of Gear 3. Gear 3. Gear 2 already went by. I was really just training myself to start posting every day at 9 o'clock.